All right, all right. So this is a different type of face of the franchise. We do have our correspondent, as you can see, for the Philadelphia sports fan. He's got his Phillies
Let's
jersey or shirt
go.
on, his
Let's
Eagles hat
go.
on. I mean, let's be honest. It's always sunny in Philadelphia these days. I mean, you have those two. You have the MLS stuff. You have, I mean, Sixers we won't talk about, but that's always sunny to me. But and then the Flyers are actually doing good this year too. So I mean, I'll let you go on your little parade to start the show for at
Yeah.
least the Phillies. So
Yeah. No, it's funny because the Sixers are actually hosting the Wizards today at Wells Fargo, and they actually have to move that game to 6. So I have a couple friends that are doing the Sixers game and the Phillies game right after.
that's crazy.
So I'm
That
just
is
like, all right,
crazy.
yeah, man, it's a party out there, man. You got people everywhere, dressed up in Eagles gear at Phillies game, Phillies gear at Eagles games, man. It's a great time. 7-0 at home. The Phillies, nobody expected them to be here, and here we are, 2 games away from winning a World Series, and obviously the Eagles are 7-0, coming off a pretty convincing win at home against your Pittsburgh Steelers.
Okay,
But
all right. We're going to save it for the rest of the show. But you did play a high school team this week. Probably another high school team. You played Seneca Valley this week, and then you're playing Northwest next week. So it's all good. So, but no, honestly, no, it's great. Now that also with the rain delay that happened yesterday, Phillies do play same time as the Eagles, I think, or are they before?
They play the same day, so it will be big TV, small TV, and I'm fortunately gonna have to put the Eagles on the small TV because that could be
Trophy
winter
ceremony.
right there. Yeah, it could be
Trophy ceremony.
Yeah, I mean that's honestly, I mean, there's a couple moments that stick out to me as a Philly fan, and one is when the Phillies won in 2008. I was in high school, and I wasn't at the parade. I had a couple friends that were. And Chase Utley comes to the mic and goes, "World champions." Pause for about 30 seconds. And he goes, "World fucking champions." And that was his entire speech. Crowd goes crazy. And people still talk about that today, 14 years later.
That's crazy.
So, I mean, it's a sports town, man. I'm telling you right now. There's nothing like being in Philly, when things are going well. But I unfortunately was there in college when everything was awful. And so, I mean, right now it just feels great. So.
Listen, the only reason why I'm wearing the Orioles stuff is because there was no team with a better rise than us. And from we were supposed to win 20 games, 30 games max, and then we ended up winning 80, and then we're projected to do well next year. So hopefully I'm in that seat next year. I don't know about the Steelers, but I'm okay with the Orioles being good. But welcome to Face of the Franchise, everyone. That's a little baseball talk to start. I'm your host, Michael the Pharaoh Shanuti. And as you can see, Joey's not on air, but Joey is celebrating some news that we will talk about later. He is popping champagne a little too soon. I told him to calm down, but he really loves the news. So we have our guest star, our Phillies correspondent, my boy Samuke, who is quarterback 1, tight end 1, RB 100 in our fantasy league, and it's all good in the hood.
First place.
Hey, that's all that matters at the end of the day. I mean, listen, I'm in Cancun mode. I'm just trying not to be last place right now, but with Deion Jackson, anything is possible. And we'll talk about the trades that happened this week and probably some waiver pickups, but that's where I kind of want to start. Let's start about these trades because the biggest thing that happened in sports this week, other than the Phillies being in the World Series and all that, is the NFL trade deadline. They basically took the NBA model. They were like, fuck it, we're doing it live. So we didn't really talk. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say the reason I think that's the case is because I think every team's looking at this year and saying, hey, we can win, right? Like I think Schefter's tweeted that this was the most trades that we've seen in 20 years.
Record breaking. Yep.
It's insane. And the amount of first round picks that have gone, just going back to last offseason to now, the amount of first round picks that have been, moved around is at a ridiculous number as well. So, I mean, we're talking about something that's unprecedented. I mean, I remember back in high school, it was the biggest news was Tim Rattay getting traded from San Francisco to Tampa Bay. So I mean, we're at a different era right now. So
I'm excited to see because I remember back in the day in 2008, the biggest name that would get traded is a backup tight end or a backup center for a 6th round pick.
Yeah.
But now we're seeing big names kind of doing the NBA thing. It's if I'm not happy, I'm going to let you know, and then you figure out where I can go from there. Mm-hmm. And teams are in that state now where they saw kind of what you guys did, kind of what San Francisco is doing now, is picks are valuable. If you hit on your picks, you're set up for a while, especially at the quarterback position when you're not giving them a big contract. So you go all in and see what happens. So I think where we could start off, because we did talk about the Christian McCaffrey trade, and we saw right now it is working wonders for both teams, in my opinion. I think Christian is doing well in San Francisco. Carolina has now picks for the future. They have their 2023 second-round pick, 2023 third-round pick, 2023 fourth-round pick, and the 2024 fifth-round pick, which really sealed the deal for them, and not the Rams. Because what I heard was the Rams didn't want to give up an extra pick. 49ers did. Now CMC is in this loaded kind of like offense where we expect it was for Trey Lance next year, but Jimmy G is for sure riding high on this ship, and we know he can take him to a Super Bowl with the supporting cast he has. So,
yeah, no, I was watching the Rams 49ers game. You kind of saw what the San Francisco offense was missing, which is basically an underneath guy that can make people miss. You weren't getting that with Jeff Wilson. You definitely weren't getting that with Elijah Mitchell.
Nope.
I mean, it's really hard to find someone that talented available really at any point. And, you know, my mantra is to never trade for a running back. But, I mean, if the shoe fits, right, you have to go for it.
Right.
And it's like quarterback's best friend is what Christian McCaffrey is. And you know, that offense is going to be scary going forward.
I prayed for the day when I drafted Christian McCaffrey to not get injured. And so far, so good, knock on wood. Now that he's with the 49ers, I think that is my second prayer that it got answered. So hopefully now him, and then I told you about the trade with JT in my fantasy.
Yeah.
But
not looking too great, but you know.
Not looking too great, but he had to take a swing and a miss. But a trade, such a fucking Baltimore trade, it hurts me. Because every time I think their defense is bad or their defense is not going to get better, they do shit like this. What I mean is Roquan Smith to the Ravens, and then the Chicago Bears getting a second-round pick and a fifth-round pick next year with linebacker A.J. Klein. So, in my opinion, what the Chicago Bears are doing, and we'll talk about the other two trades that they made, I think really right now they gave away a guy that didn't want to resign. They weren't going to give big money to a team. I'm not saying they're up there yet with the Chiefs and the Bills, but if they get on the right track, they could surprise people. And I think I know why they made this trade. They really haven't had that presence in the middle. Patrick Queen has been very underwhelming, and I think any Ravens fan can tell you that. And it's no shot to him because I did like Patrick Queen coming out of LSU. I mean, Joe Burrow's talked about him. But it's just when you have a guy like Roquan who has been a tackling machine, a guy who's a presence in the middle, especially in the AFC, it does wonders for you. And for the Bears, getting those picks that they need to rebuild, Justin Fields looks like he's improving. You can use those picks to get him weapons or fix the defense. As a Steelers fan, I hate all this. Fuck this. I don't want to watch football anymore. But at the end of the day, I think it's a good trade for both teams. So
yeah, what would you give it on like an A through F scale for both teams?
So I'll give it a B+ for the Bears for what they're getting, and I'll give, as of right now, because of what they could have gotten for Lamar, I feel like they needed more weapons for Lamar. I will only give it a B for Roquan because defense wasn't as bad as their offense looks without. I mean, no, who knows if Mark Andrews is healthy? Who knows if Bateman is healthy? They could have gotten wide receiver, but I mean, all in all, I think B and B+. So
that's fair. This is a very interesting one because you usually don't see this from a team that already needs to use their franchise tag probably on Lamar Jackson. So the Roquan was available since last offseason. It was the worst kept secret in the league. Chicago wasn't going to pay him. Like this was the last year of his contract. They weren't going to pay him. They were not going to franchise him. So, you know, let's find a team that works for him. I mean, I know that there were a bunch of teams that called for him. I mean, this is a guy that's incredibly talented, came in the league, led the league in tackles, is a surefire tackler, something that Patrick Queen is not. So what Baltimore is getting is someone in the middle that can shore up some of those, you know, shallow routes that a lot of teams run against them, and actually definitely shores up their run defense, as well as give them some sort of dynamic player in the middle of their defense. So I understand why Baltimore did it. The issue with me is that next year, what do you do? Like, you're gonna have to pay both of them. You're gonna have to pay Roquan top middle linebacker money and Lamar sitting there at top quarterback money. And both of them, you know who their agents are?
Who?
Themselves. They both have that
Oh
same thing. So they're both going to be like, all right, you traded for us, you traded for me, and I'm your franchise quarterback. You have to pay both of us. So what do? Right? Do you end up paying Lamar and franchising Roquan? You can't transition tag either of them. So they're going to have headaches, going into next offseason. But I'm talking about for this season. I mean, this is a no-brainer for Baltimore right here. I give them a B. And that's the only reason why I won't give them an A is because I don't know what they're going to do next year.
Right.
So then for Chicago, I mean, they were never going to keep Roquan. So I mean, giving them an A there, getting a second and a fifth back. I know they drafted him with a I think it was a 10th or 11th pick. So getting a second, I guess, is
very high.
They also have $100 million in cap space next year. I mean, they're basically they're ready to kind of hit the reset button. But with the A that I give them now. We have to probably talk about that other trade that they made, right?
Oh, for the Eagles or the other one?
No, for Pittsburgh. Because it was like one of these things where one shoe falls, and then we're just like, well, why did they do this? And then you see the next one fall. So
yeah. So I was gonna do all three trades, and I guess we could start with that one. So Pittsburgh Steelers gave them Chase Claypool, and we got back, from what I understood, because there was multiple reports of which second round pick it was. From my understanding, I think we got their second round pick. We didn't get the Ravens.
No, you got the Chicago one.
Okay, because there was conflicting reports, and that's what I understood from the very end. What I saw in Pittsburgh media the other day was kind of silly. Take away all the TikToks, take away all the bullshit that he does. Saying he was a distraction in the locker room, I think is horseshit. I think really, for me, he's a lovable guy. He is what he is. You have to take the good with the bad. Everybody brings up the Minnesota first down. If you didn't do that, we would have extra time, whatever the fuck. I mean, I listen, the TikTok era in Pittsburgh is done. It's dead, whatever, good. Really, I think for us, this is a B. This is a B. It's like we never drafted him. It's like we could hit the reset button. This is Pickens seasons now, which people believe that is the real reason. That Pickens needs to flourish as the number 2 wide receiver next to Droppinson and Pat Freiermuth and Trent Richardson Jr. in the backfield. So all that happening, we can reset the button. I just hope we don't use this pick on another wide receiver. I think really what we need to do now is figure out what we need to do with Pickens, what we need to do with Johnson, and then figure out the offensive line in the trenches, because we are not getting any younger. So I'm giving it a B. For Chicago, I give it like a C+, teetering on a B. Chase Claypool is a tremendous talent. I mean, the dude's, with more than anyone how good his combine was. It was ridiculous. Athletic, he could do all these different things. My problem with him is it just doesn't seem like he has this separation speed that you would want a deep threat. And it just seems like he makes easy catches look tough. And that's what I don't like. I was just like, dude, it seems like you're making this hitch route look harder, and it just doesn't need to be like that. But I could see why they did it. If he's going downfield and Justin Fields is improving, you need to give him a wide receiver. So if he turns out to be what we think he is, C+, maybe turns into a B-, but right now I'm giving it a C+.
So for the Steelers, obviously I'm going to give him a high grade. I think that getting a second round pick for a guy that, again, they didn't want. Anytime you get something that's of value for a guy that you either already replaced, they're kind of dead, and they've already replaced him, and getting a second round pick for him, basically recouping what they paid for, is always a plus, especially in a season where the Steelers aren't going to necessarily go anywhere, and you kind of need to look for the future and kind of replace some of these old aging parts that they have all over their roster. So that for me is a B+. With the Bears, I understand where they're coming from. So when I looked at it, I was like, really, Chase Claypool for a second, your own second? So that's probably going to be like pick 38, 39 at best. Yep. I mean, we're talking about a pretty good pick there. That seems harsh, but going back to that first move that we were talking about, the Roquan deal, they have about $100 million in cap space, right? So that means that, hey, now we can go into free agency and grab a receiver. If you look at the 2023 NFL free agents for receiver, it is not great. It's like waiver wire. All these are droppable in all formats type. Like, it's not great. The number one receiver is probably Alan Lazard. And would you rather pay Alan Lazard $18 million, or would you rather give Claypool a year and see what he has, and then maybe give him the money if he's good? I'd say Claypool is probably better than all these receivers that are on the NFL free agent list in 2023. So I understand why they're doing it. He's cost controlled for 2 years. So, it's a low risk move. You trade a second, that's fine. You got a second from Baltimore. So, I mean, you get that taken care of. Now you have positional flexibility to go in the draft and get whomever you want. Because, like, coming in, if you don't get Claypool, then I think you're kind of stuck taking a receiver in the first 4 or 5 picks, right?
Yep.
So it gives you an option to kind of go either way. Maybe Marvin Harrison Jr. does fall at pick 8, 9, 10, if that's the case. Like,
no.
My point is there's so many other things that now they can do in Chicago with the addition of Chase Claypool. Is Claypool good? I don't know. I honestly don't. I've watched him score 4 touchdowns against the Eagles. I've also watched him do some ridiculous things. It's honestly, they're all over the place. So he's all over the place. It is, going to be interesting to see what he does in Chicago, but I think it's a good move for them. I give it a solid B.
I think so too. I think, like you said, it's an upside move for a guy who has all the intangibles you want as a number one wide receiver. And just the guy gets in his own way, and that's where we are. And like you said, Ryan Poole actually did get a question like that. It's like, why'd you trade for him? It's like, well, you have to do a little bit of forecasting, and wide receivers is just like, and if you want to give this guy weapons, Justin Fields, and watch him improve, you just got to start somewhere. And like you said, $100 million in cap, you can fix a lot of things. I don't think wide receiver is the thing. And let's be honest, they weren't going to use $100 million on cap space on this next guy who you guys got. So the other big trade that they did was Robert Quinn to the Eagles for a 2023 4th-round pick. So you see a trend here. They are getting younger. They're trying to get guys that they need, not necessarily guys that they want for the future. So they're getting all the picks back that they see as valuable. And I think for a guy last year who had 18 sacks this year, kind of only has 1, but that's not his fault because I think a lot of people are falling through the trap of this team is that bad. And he's still got something left in the tank. And I think you will see that in Philly, especially what happened with that boy Nick from Tennessee with you guys. He's just not so good. He's not very good. And I thought he was going to be a beast. Didn't happen. But I think this is great. I think Robert Quinn finally gets a fresh start, goes to a team that has a chance to win a ring. I think this is a B to the Eagles, in my opinion, and a C+ to the Bears just because a 4th-round pick. You never know what you're going to get with that. So kudos to the Eagles getting a guy who I think they're looking ahead a little bit. And if they do make that Super Bowl, they are going to either face Patrick Mahomes, Lamar, or Josh Allen, and you need to keep those guys in the pocket. So that's a great pick. That's a great pickup for you guys. So
everyone says that, Les Snead is the most wheeling, dealing, fuck them picks guy that we've seen.
We have a Rams fan. We know.
Yeah. Put some respect on Howie Roseman's name, just for a second. And the reason why I say that is because anytime that he has an opportunity to make the team better, whether it's for good or for worse, he's going to take that chance middle of the season. Going back, the year that the Eagles won the Super Bowl, they traded a mid-round pick for Jay Ajayi. When we had LeGarrette Blount, we had basically LeGarrette Blount and chips at that point. Darren Sproles tore his ACL. I want to say it was early in the season too, where he did that, where that happened. So we won the Super Bowl, traded a mid-round pick for it. The year after, we traded a 3rd for Golden Tate. Did it work out? Not really, but at the same time, it was an option for us to try to extend the window that we have.
Right.
Now, fast forward to now, where we clearly had my biggest, pet peeve with this team. I mean, it's a very well constructed team. We can even go back to the podcast we talked about it, a couple months ago. So this is a team dripping with talent. But the one thing that they don't have right now, especially with Derek Barnett's injury, is another DN that they can use to kind of spell Sweat and Brandon Graham. And Robert Quinn does that. I mean, Robert Quinn doesn't have to come out and be a 20-sack person. He only has to come in, by 20, 25% of snaps, obvious passing downs, and win. And, he's going to get every one-on-one opportunity. You can't double both him and Hassan Reddick, right? You don't necessarily know where he lines up on the defensive line. I mean, we had a very interesting, and we can talk about it during the Steelers game, but the way the Eagles utilize their defensive line is very cool. They have DNs that can play inside. So you have some of these winning plus pass rushers that are now going up against guards in a one-on-one situation. And now you add Robert Quinn on that, who had one of the higher pass rate metrics in winning pass rushes all of last year, and it's still this year. But the problem is that there's nobody on the other side that teams have to worry about. So tight ends, running backs are all chipping him. He's getting a lot more attention, or he was in Chicago. I don't necessarily think that's going to be the case here in Philly. So I give it an A- for Philly, and I give it a solid B for Chicago. And the reason is because they're not going to pay him. Again, it's the same thing. He's 30. He's over 30. Where the team's going. And just giving the guy an opportunity to go and win a title is it was good by Chicago, and also eating his salary and restructuring the deal so Robert Quinn's a free agent at the end of the year. It all makes sense. It's a 4th round pick for a rental. Chicago's doing that every single time, knowing that after the end of the year they're not going to pay him. So getting a 4th for someone who's going to walk is a win.
No, I think so too. I think getting those picks for guys that you'll never use or you won't see a future with is always good. So I think another team had the same idea you guys did. This whole all-in mentality after watching their quarterback almost die on the field, but came back and was good. And a team who wasn't going to pay this guy. And I think really it's an all-in move, but his health is what concerns me, and I'll talk more. This is obviously the Bradley Chubb trade. The Dolphins retrieved Bradley Chubb, 2025 5th-round pick, and the Broncos got Chase Edmonds, a 1st-round pick that was the 49ers pick when they traded up to get Trey Lance, and a 2024 4th-round pick. Now, clearly, Bradley Chubb is an awesome talent. They are in a division with Josh Allen. They see themselves in an all-in situation. Tua looks good. Offense looks humming. Everything. Mm-hmm. I'm only giving him a B because of what I just said. Chubb has only – take a guess how many games he's played in the last 3-4 years.
It's like 30% because he had the major injury and then he just can't stay on the field. I'm in the same thought process as you. I can't give him anything more than a B.
Seven game on average the last 3 years. He's played 7 games.
Yeah, and that's insane.
It's insane. And they don't – and I know they have Melvin Ingram. They have different guys. Jalen Phillips is coming on. Mm-hmm. It's just – I can only give them a B because of that. Now, for the Broncos, I give an A. They got, like you said with Chase Claypool, you basically got a pick where you drafted them, and you have another extra pick, and then who knows what Chase Edmonds could be. He is a good runner. I just don't think – I mean, if you think he's going to all of a sudden be a good running back, nah, but it's a good passing down back. He will be in that Mike Boone role and whatever. We'll see what happens. Let's ride Broncos Nation. But I'll give that one an A for the Broncos and B to the Dolphins. Hopefully Chubb stays on the field. I just don't see it. But.
Yeah, I find it very interesting that Miami, I mean, we look back all the way to the Trey Lance trade. So they moved back 9 spots to get basically 3 first-round picks from San Francisco. They used all of those picks, and they didn't take a single draft pick with them. They traded the pick that they originally got. So they moved back up to 6 to get Jalen Waddle. They used another San Francisco pick to get Tyreek Hill. Now they're using this San Francisco pick to get Bradley Chubb. So it's a very interesting way to build your team. It's basically the ultimate testament for them to think that Tua is their guy and will be their guy for the future. Mm-hmm. That's just something that I can't really truly get behind. The arm talent with Tua is not there. And so basically what they're saying is we're going to try to go all in with this team knowing that, Tua is our guy, and I just don't see it. And I just don't think that Miami's ready to go all in. I can't wait to eat these words later when they're probably in the Super Bowl somehow.
Oh, yeah.
But, it's a move to win now, and this is along the same thought process as the Eagles. We're going to try to make as many midseason moves as possible, and San Francisco. We're going to do it and try to go all in because we think we can win this year. On the Denver side, I just don't understand what their front office is doing. Trade all these picks for Russell Wilson, right? You go all in. They basically went all in, right? They did the same thing. Yep. They went all in. We got Russell Wilson. We're going to add all these pieces, and then now you're going to take one of those major defensive pieces away and trade them for a first-round pick. I think what Denver realizes is they've made a huge mistake. Russell Wilson's not that guy anymore, and they're just going to try to replenish as many picks as they possibly can. So it's really a shame. I'm going to give Miami a B-, and I'll give Denver like a C+, probably towards a C. a low C plus, if that makes any sense. But
the one that
it just doesn't make any sense,
away.
man. It doesn't make any sense. What Denver's doing is not making any sense to me. Just completely different than what they came into the offseason wanting to do. So
I think we got enamored by the 4 quarterback horsemen in the AFC West, and we're just like, oh, any of these teams can win the Super Bowl, blah blah blah. Not realizing maybe Russ, with that finger injury last year, kind of went downhill.
It's not even the finger. It's the fact that he doesn't run anymore. It's like you watch him; he's so slow out there. We can have an entire podcast about these geezer quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And how it's not working with them. But man, it's just like watching him. It just makes me sad because it's just like, everyone's stunting on him now. Like you see, like Tyler Lockett's just like, on Seattle, and he's just like, it's nice having a quarterback that doesn't take the spotlight, and thanks the team. It's not about him. And I'm like, oh, oof, that's a rough little blow right there. That's rough.
But I mean, a lot of people have talked about his ego, so it's kind of funny to me. And you know what? I want to give a shout out. I'm kissing your hand, Omar Khan and the Steelers front office. I wanted Rodgers. I wanted Wilson. I wanted Derek Carr. And right now, I think, even though how bad Kenny Pickett looks right now, I think we made out as kings at this point. But and then let's be honest, like the trade that shocked the world. I think it shocked the world. I have never thought about it in their divisional trade, especially for a guy who was a top 10 pick. Go to a division rival who is 6-1. I guess if you want to look at it as the one team tanking and the one team saying let's go all in, fine. I'm talking about the Minnesota Vikings getting T.J. Hawkinson, 2023 fourth round pick, 2024 conditional fourth round pick, probably some stipulations that like receptions, and then Lions receiving a 2023 second and 2024 third round pick.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so. After this happened, we know we got the news that Irv Smith is going to be out 8 to 10 weeks with a high ankle sprain. So I understand the move for the Vikings. I'm still giving it a C. TJ has been an underwhelming tight end. Now, is it because he's in Detroit? Is it because the quarterback situation? Is it because of him? I don't know. I can't tell. Now he goes to be second fiddle, technically, to one of the best wide receivers in football. He gets an upgrade at quarterback, even though I'm not a big Kirk Cousins fan. We'll see what happens. The extra picks given to the Lions just doesn't make sense to me. I feel like you could just trade T.J. Hawkinson and get the second and the third and the fourth, maybe. But that's just me. But good for the Lions to kind of swindle a little bit and getting picks back. And for me, that gives a B- for them. I think the Lions are in now taking mode. They're 1-6. They know now Jared Goff isn't the guy, and it took him a little while, but they basically had to do a Rams thing where it's like, oh, he looks good for a little bit, and then now he looks like what we like to call in the group chat goof. He looks like a goof, so it's all good.
Yeah, I think the Lions know what type of team they are now. You see that with Dan Campbell coming out and saying that Jameson Williams is probably going to be out for 4 more weeks. Which then adds to the fact that we probably won't see him this year. You then look at the offensive production, and you're saying, hey, wait a minute, we need to start calming it down a little bit and start losing more games. As defense, their defense is awful. Like that's one of the worst units in the league. It's not even close, honestly. So let's lose out, and that's probably what their front office is saying. Let's see what we can do. T.J. Hawkinson's not someone that we see a future with, and if there's a team that's willing to trade multiple second, day 2 picks for him, then so be it. We're gonna have we're probably gonna have a top 2, top 3 pick. We're gonna be able to have our choice of quarterback. It's a great quarterback draft. You're gonna have me on, in April or May, and I'm gonna tell you all about, C.J. Stroud and Bryce Young, second best Bryce in my opinion to Bryce Harper, but that goes without saying.
Oh yeah. Here we go.
So I just think that the Lions have a very good idea of what they want to do. This is the opposite of what Denver's front office is doing, where I don't think Denver has a plan. The Lions have a clear-cut plan. It's like, we're going to get whatever we can for these guys. We don't care who we trade them to, as long as we get what we ask for. That's a win for us. So I'm not really worried about them trading in division. Minnesota, on the other hand, I get it. They're 6 and they're 1 game out of the NFC. Right, They can be number one in the NFC. They think they can win the entire thing. Like, honestly, look at them. They have an opportunity. It's a weird year this year. The landscape is insane. Like, any team thinks that they can win, they're going to try to go all in. Second and third for a guy that had one great game this year. He does that from time to time. I would never do it for a tight end, but again, more power to Minnesota. It's fine if they believe that they can lock him in long term and this is their guy. But I probably give Minnesota a C-, and I'm going to give Detroit a B. So
I like it. I like what you said. I think, like you said, the landscape of the NFL is so skewed. Even with you guys being undefeated, we still got the Buffalo Bills and the Chiefs. Listen, any given Sunday, we've said it for years, and I think this year is the biggest Sunday bullshit. Like, would I be surprised? Now, hear what I'm not saying. Would I be surprised if the Texans beat you guys tomorrow? I mean, I wouldn't, because that's just how the year has been going. Like,
I'd be very surprised. No, we'll talk about that Titans Texans game, because I know there's gonna be a couple people listening that want to hear me talk about the Titans, but we'll get to that. But yeah, no, it's gonna be very. You're right though. Like, any team can win on any given day, but I think that there's a clear top and then there's everyone else. But then in a one game, playoff game, like,
it can happen.
Maybe you get 2 turnovers in the first quarter. Maybe there's 2 tip balls and all of a sudden you're up 14-0. Anything can happen. So yeah, I can see why Minnesota's doing this.
Yeah. All right. And then and I totally agree. And then the trade that I thought you were trolling. I literally thought you were trolling in the chat, because I was like, what the fuck? Why would they trade for him? Like, this guy's suspended, and it was the Atlanta Falcons giving away Calvin Ridley to the Jacksonville Jaguars for a conditional 5th, a conditional 2nd. I read the whole conditional thing. Yeah. Like, if he's reinstated, it goes up. If he goes,
basically, it's basically if they re-sign him to a contract, which it gets that far, then it's a 2nd-round pick. So basically, what Atlanta fans basically, you want him to actually get reinstated and play well enough to get a new contract, because at that point, then you get your 2nd. So.
Yeah, and I agree. I think this is another thing where they're looking into the future. I basically also see it as, hey, Trevor Lawrence, this is now your 3rd year. Either like shit or get off the pot kind of thing, where it's like, we gave you Christian Kirk, who I mean, to his credit, has been fine, but now you have an actual number 1. So if you can't make a rapport with him, we're going to have to start elsewhere and go from there. And Doug Peterson even said it. He's like, it's one of those things, like we said, like, they're looking into the future. They know they can't kind of compete this year, but next year, when they have everybody back together, everything that they need, and they also have cap space as well, even though they had one of the biggest spending sprees this year, they've looked pretty good at times. So this Ridley trade, if he comes back healthy, comes back Ridley, and Trevor Lawrence is Trevor Lawrence, I think this is good. So I'll give it a B for Jacksonville and a B+ for Atlanta, just because they are in somewhat of a rebuilding mode a little bit, and I think Drake London's emergence kind of helped push this along too. So,
yeah, I mean, Atlanta doesn't throw anyway, so why? There is here, right? It goes without saying. I think that the Falcons knew that Ridley wasn't going to play another snap for him, so let's get something for him, right?
Might as well.
Yeah, Jacksonville. I found this interesting because my biggest qualm with them is the fact that their outside receivers are probably the worst in the league still. This is the problem with them that I had last year too. If you ever go to the NFL Next Gen stats and you see the pass charts, there's like a force field at 20 yards. Basically, Trevor Lawrence doesn't throw past 20 yards because nobody can get open past 20 yards for Jacksonville. And I think that they're trying to address that in a relatively low risk play here with Calvin Ridley. And again, it's the same thing that I talked about Claypool and the Bears. Like, now that you have Ridley, you don't have to go into the draft automatically thinking you need a wide receiver 1. You don't have to go into free agency and overpay Allen Lazard. You don't have to give him $20 million a year. You don't have to give Jacoby Myers $16 million a year. We're going to be seeing a lot of that in March. I'm telling you right now. Isn't it the Packers are going to be like, all right, we're going to give Allen Lazard 4 years, $80 million, $62 million guaranteed, because there's no other receivers that are available. So, I mean, I understand why Jacksonville's doing that. Low risk, high reward. Get a guy that can actually win one-on-ones on the outside. That's a B for me for Atlanta and a A- for Jacksonville.
Oh wow, yeah. So you
Yeah,
like
no,
it a little bit better.
I just think that it's a low risk. I mean, worst case scenario, it's 2/5. Best case scenario, you have someone that actually unlocks the force field that Trevor Lawrence has been playing with the last 2 years. So
yeah, don't forget they have a new coach that doesn't kick kickers, so I like that as well.
There you go. There you go.
So we'll do rapid fire for these next
Mm-hmm.
ones. These are just backup running backs and one corner trade for us that is like, I mean, whatever. So we'll do the corner one first. So William Jackson got his wish. He got traded, probably to a worse team. So he got traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers. We also get a conditional 7th, and then Washington gets a 6th. The only reason why I'm saying is because the dude was going to get cut. I think
it was going to get cut.
They knew they weren't high on the waiver wire or the waivers or whatever, so they knew somebody was going to pick them up. So I'll give it a C. Washington gets a B because they got something. So
disaster class signing for Washington. Just goes to show sometimes that free agency isn't what it seems.
Yeah.
I don't really have much to say aside from that. Good for Pittsburgh because they need some corner help.
We need a lot. Nyheim Hines to the Bills. Nyheim goes to the Bills, and then Colts get Zach Moss. Good riddance, and 2023 5th. Bills get rid of Zach Moss. Waste of space. Waste of a fucking roster spot. Nyheim Hines basically now is going to, my favorite word, Cook. James Cook. Devin Singletary is still the starter. Not saying that because he's on my fantasy team, but we know what Nyheim Hines is. He's a catching back. So I'll give it a B for the Buffalo Bills and a C for the Colts because I don't know why you did this, honestly. You just traded to trade.
Yeah, the Colts are at this point trying to figure out what they are. I don't really have grades for either, honestly. It's gonna be someone. Honestly, it is what it is. I mean, they know that Nyheim Hines is someone that they gave a contract to and don't even utilize well. So I mean, maybe Buffalo will, and maybe Zach Moss is someone that can. Zach Moss does have some really good pass protection numbers. That's probably the best I can give for the Colts, and they get a pick back. I don't know, man. It's not like any of these picks are going to be used. It's not like this, the front office is going to be there to see these picks anyway. So all these guys are dead men walking. It's a lame duck year for it's gonna be clean house type in at the end of the season for the Colts.
Frank Wright, Steelers offensive coordinator 2023. You heard it here first.
Wouldn't be surprised, but
I'm happy. I would be so fucking happy. Jeff Wilson Jr. goes to see his old friends. Raheem Mostert and Mike McDaniels. He goes to the Dolphins, and then the 49ers got a 2023 5th-round pick. Wow. Surprised that they put a lot of faith in CMC. You could fire him up as a starter, a number one. If you were worried, now you don't have to be worried. Just fucking kidding. But
Elijah Mitchell also is coming back soon. I mean, it just makes sense.
I'm giving
roster spots
C's.
too.
Giving it both C's.
I have nothing to say. Yeah. I have nothing to say about that.
And there you go. And that was the 2023 NFL blockbuster year. I think it was good. I'm happy. There's so much parity in the NFL this year, and having 10 trades like that. I mean, look at the offseason. The offseason was crazy. This was crazy. I think now this is going to be the new norm because people now notice that they have to have a fighter's chance sometimes, and fans want to see that. And I love it. And speaking of fighter's chance, I'll go first, all right? I will go first. So you can have your day because I am not going to give anything good about this. So the Steelers and the Eagles played. I knew we were going to get fucked. I knew it wasn't going to be pretty. How bad we played was not indicative of what I thought. Let's just say that. I thought we would at least give something on defense. At least Minka would stop a little bit here and there. Everybody on that team, whatever salary that they're making, 20% should go to TJ Watt right the fuck now. Because who wouldn't have guessed that TJ Watt, a generational talent, would make a team look bad. But credit to the Eagles. The Eagles look great. I'm not taking anything away from them. They did what they did. I mean, A.J. Brown looks like a steal and a half from the Titans, and he the most disrespectful thing I ever seen, but deserving so, pointing at two defenders saying, you can't guard me basically with two guys. You got to get more on me. And when Gardner Minshew comes in the fourth quarter, all hell breaks loose. So, and Trent Richardson Jr. just doesn't know how to get a first down. So there you go. I don't know what you thought.
I want to kind of talk about Pittsburgh a little bit more before we
You
move
can't.
to the
You can't
Eagles.
give me questions. I will
So,
give you the question.
um,
I'm here.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I think I'm more interested to hear what you have to say about Pickett so far through, I want to say, what, 2 weeks now, 3 weeks. He's had a couple of solid games. What are you looking for the rest of the season from Mr. Pickett?
So right now, I think you've heard me say it 12 million times. Matt Canada is the worst offensive coordinator of all time.
Yeah, we established that though early on.
We established that, but with Pickett, I'm just looking for maturation. Like there's certain things he's gotten better at through the games, like his progression, the way he moving in and out of the pocket. There was this one play that he threw it away. I think if you remember, Deontay was going for a fly route. He threw it over his head and it was out of bounds when he could have easily hit Sims down the middle because he split the linebacker and the safety. That stuff, I'm not going to blame him for. He's still a rookie. He's learning. He's getting into those folds. But in year 2, I'm hoping those get cleaned up, and especially with the new offensive coordinator. I am liking his decision-making. I am liking how he's not giving up on plays. And what he said in the media, he's like, a lot of people were like asking him about his interceptions. He's like, oh, you mean like trying to score because we're down? Yeah, I'm going to try to do that. So I'm liking he's giving it a shot. And that's the only thing. Does he look good doing it? I mean, does anything look good right now? So,
yeah, I mean, the reason why I ask is because I was a guy that we talked about earlier in the year. Someone that I thought that had offensive rookie of the year potential, because I thought that he would come in and automatically rejuvenate an offense when we knew that Trubisky was not. We know what he is, and it's a shame that this is what it is right now. And I could be an offensive coordinator thing. I mean, we'll see at the end of the year when Canada probably gets fired or becomes
right
a head
now,
coach. I don't know.
The insanity. Oh, he might be the head coach. Mike Tomlin might get fired, and he might be the head coach. And the insanity complex in the Steelers organization is getting really, really bad. It's getting bad. But,
yeah, I mean, when I watched the game, I mean, again, I wasn't expecting it to be easy because the Eagles again are a very, very first half oriented team. They don't come in the second half and really do much. And actually, it was a relatively close game for, I want to say, 3 quarters. And then, kind of all fell apart. The Eagles' offense was the best I've seen it, through the entire game, to the point where, Jalen Hurts got some rest in the fourth. If you just look at the box score, it kind of tells you kind of everything that you need to know about this game offensively. We had one red zone play in the entire game. We ran one play in the red zone the entire game, and that was a Miles Sanders touchdown run in the beginning.
Yep.
Yeah. So, that's insane. That's when you get that many big plays to sustain you. It really shows up, and this just adds another facet to the game, to the way the Eagles play, because Pittsburgh came in here from what I saw. What Pittsburgh, their entire game plan was, hey, we're gonna stop the run. Right, we're gonna have as many people in the box as we possibly can. Minka's great, and the reason why he helps facilitate this is because he's actually a guy that can play center field and actually can go out and go to either side depending on who's running a go or whatever.
Yeah.
The difference here though is that AJ Brown's a man. Like that's really it. I mean, like Minka basically like played every one of those touchdowns really well. I mean, like the first touchdown is hilarious because. In the sideline, they had like a mic'd up version that just came out today, and basically it was Jalen Hurts saying "my bad" to Devontae Smith because the play initially was two stacked receivers, Devontae and AJ. AJ was supposed to run a go route, and supposed to bring Minka over there because they're playing single high, and then basically Devontae Smith was supposed to run the drag underneath, and he was going to be open. What Jalen Hurts did, and in that stage, your primary is Devontae because he's wide open in the middle of the field. It's going to be a 20-yard game. But Jalen Hurts was such in his bag that he just threw the deep ball, which is the wrong play because Minka Fitzpatrick has a great angle at the ball. It should have been a pick, but that's just AJ Brown making a top 5 receiver play, right? That's AJ Brown being a top AJ 5 Brown. Receiver. Yeah, it's AJ Brown. You can't do that with Quez Watkins. Like it's not going to work.
No. No. And I give it credit to all, like I said, to you guys. I mean, you guys played our defense well. You guys knew what to do. Minka, I'm not gonna put. A lot of people were like, "What's happening to Minka? What's happening to this?" And I just was like,
"This is unfair, man."
It's not wrong. I mean, it's an unfair thing. Like when you have corners like, no offense, Levi Wallace and Sutton.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't have the dude do everything. Like.
Yeah,
Exactly.
It's really unfortunate because I mean, again, that was a mistake, and I'm sure that they're going to talk about it this week, in the film room, in the quarterback room, saying you can't throw that ball, man. You cannot throw that ball. But yeah, don't worry, my dog's barking too. So
Frankie, come here. Sorry. Keep going, Samuke. I got you.
Yeah, no, I was basically saying that we're at the point now where you can basically do as many different things as you possibly can with this offense. Like, sure, you want to go play single high, go ahead. We're gonna throw these go balls and beat you there. You want to play too high? Fine, then we'll just run down your throat.
Right.
There's so many different things that they can do offensively, which is just insane. And most of this just comes from the fact that Jalen Hurts is in his bag right now. Like, I wasn't expecting this from Jalen Hurts. Were you? Like,
we were talking about it. I mean, like you said, and we talked about it in the offseason. Like, this was the make or break year for Jalen Hurts. Like, that was where our conversation was.
Yeah, that's true.
Let's be honest. I mean, like, if you guys weren't going to win with this team, with him, when were you going to win with him? That's the thing. And it just shows, like, again, kind of like what we talked about with Josh Allen, too, back in the day. It's like, was he – like, a lot of people questioned him, too. A lot of people question him. Now look at him. He's an MVP candidate.
Yeah.
Everybody loves him. I mean, Jalen is now a part of that group where if you develop a quarterback right and you get him the weapons he needs, you'll be fine.
Yeah, and it's funny because we didn't run as many RPOs as we usually do. And I think that's
I don't think you needed to.
That's the thing, though. That's the thing. It's Pittsburgh was kind of sitting on a lot of those. We're gonna play as many people in the box as possible. We're gonna stop the run. And the pockets, though, what was great was that these pockets that Jalen Hurts was getting, they're pockets that even in college you don't get. Like, it's insane. I mean, I've looked at many, watched a bunch of Ohio State games and a bunch of Georgia games and Alabama games, and these are the type of pockets that you're getting against, Vanderbilt. Like, and you're just like, oh, look at these great quarterback throws. I'm like, yeah, because he's getting 6 seconds to throw the ball.
Exactly.
Same thing with Jalen Hurts.
Exactly.
And I mean, it's not. I mean, our offensive line is great. I mean, I understand that you don't have T.J. Watt, but I mean, like, I don't necessarily know if you can use that as a way to be like, well, Jalen Hurts is just unbelievable. Yeah, he's throwing dimes, but he's also getting 5 seconds to throw the ball. Like, the second touchdown pass was a go route, but Kenny Gainwell stuck the linebacker that was coming in on a blitz. Yeah. And then when you do that, and when you execute at a high level, like, those balls are going to be there, and especially if Jalen Hurts is in his bag and playing really well, and AJ Brown is going up and getting it. Like, man, how are people going to stop us, man? I just don't know. When we're playing this well, like, it's going to be difficult because the third AJ Brown touchdown was a fake screen. Like, that's what's crazy. Like, and what the tendencies that the Eagles have, and the fact that they can use those tendencies against the defense, because they know the defense is watching. They know, okay, if the down and distance that they're in, they're going to be more apt to throwing, these screens, especially if the corners are playing so far back. And they just faked the screen, and then AJ Brown went on a go route, and that was a third touchdown where he pointed at people because he was just like, yeah, y'all can't guard me. But also it was a play design. The fourth touchdown to Zach Pascal was a rub route, was the tried and tested Eagles rub route where both corners went down with Dallas Goedert, and Pascal kind of slid out and scored. And again, that's a type of stuff where you're so keen, like, looking in at the rub route, at the screen, the TE screen, that you're not looking back at Zach Pascal, who's just leaking out, caught a touchdown on that.
That's just crazy. And I think right now, I mean, who would you think? Like, this is a good question for you because you asked me a question. Who in the NFC do you think has the best chance to challenge you? Honestly,
I would say probably still be San Francisco. Okay. I think San Francisco and Dallas are the two defenses that are fast and athletic, that can actually rush for and get to the quarterback, or send everyone and defend, with four in the kind of what Arizona did, which is kind of the blueprint that I expected every team to go with. We're just going to send every single person and hope that Jalen Hurts can find someone, and many teams aren't doing that against us. I don't understand why. So I'll be interested to see. It's kind of the same issue that Lamar had last year. If you remember, Lamar Jackson versus cover zeros was one of the worst quarterbacks in the league.
Right.
Now, if you blitz him, he fucks you up. So like, really, can Jalen Hurts take that next step? So I think that those are the two teams that I'm worried about the most from an offensive standpoint. From a defensive standpoint, I still think it's, I don't necessarily think there's an offense that I'm really worried about at this point. The way our defense is playing, the way we're playing, we're just playing very basic stuff right at this point. It's especially in the back, in the secondary, it's just quarters coverage. We stick our two corners on the outside guys, right? Everyone else plays zone, and beat us. Try beating James Bradbury. You're gonna get a couple reps.
That's what
maybe,
I'm saying, dude.
But you're not gonna be able to beat Bradbury and Slay, over and over again. It's just not gonna happen. And what our front is doing, and I kind of alluded to this earlier in the podcast, is with Robert Quinn now and the way we can move our defensive ends along the line. There was a play where we had Hassan Reddick, I think, as wide as you possibly can, and then you had Brandon Graham and Josh Sweat inside of him, and then you had Fletcher Cox and Hargrave on the outside. And basically, it was a stunt where everyone pushed left, and then Hassan Reddick came as a free rusher up through the middle and sacked Kenny Pickett on 3rd and 8. I think it was the first play, one of the first drives of the game. And I was like, oh, we're actually running stunts. We run the least amount of stunts in the NFL. It's very vanilla. And now that we're actually doing that kind of stuff and being more creative on their defensive line, it'll be very interesting to see how we can move forward, especially now that we have guys. Speaking of which, we have guys, but we also lost one. Jordan Davis ankle injury. We don't know what the timeline is for him.
Yeah.
People be like, oh, he's just a fat guy in the middle. But, man, what he allows us to do defensively, especially against the run, is something that, I can't really account for without him. He's kind of the key piece for the game in defense, especially against the run, because with him, we can actually run some of these bear fronts, basically everyone up against another offensive lineman. Marlon Tuipulotu, I love him, but he's just he's okay. Like there's a reason why he was a day 3 pick. He's a big dude, but he's not going to provide you anything more than just being a space stuffer. So we're going to miss him because the Eagles' defense stopping the run with 4 guys is just not it. I mean, it's just not going to work. So we're going to need him back, hopefully healthy by the time the playoffs start, especially going against some of these run heavy teams. We already talked about Dallas. San Francisco is another one. Minnesota. All these teams have really good run games. Green Bay could gash us too if they get healthy at the right time with their offensive line. So we need Jordan Davis back, healthy, hopefully, as quickly as we possibly can. So aside from that, I know you guys missed Javon Hargrave. Yeah, he ate too. So I feel really bad.
I'm just happy he's doing good. He was one of the guys.
That's what everyone says. All of these people, the free agents go to another team. They're just happy that they do well. I'm just like, I'm not happy. If I'm sitting here watching the free agent,
Hargrave, it was like one of those situations. It was like either him or Tuitt, which we picked Tuitt, and Tuitt unfortunately had his problems, and he had to retire. But for him, I really liked him. I really thought he was going to stay, but front offices don't pay people money. I mean, I know when certain Titans fans say I'm happy for AJ Brown, they're saying it with some tears, but. Hargraves, I mean, I'm glad he's doing well. I'm not saying Claypool and Juju do well. Fuck no. I never said that about Le'Veon or AB. So
yeah, I'm with you. So I mean, I think that at the end of the day, it was an A+ game on both sides of the ball. The Eagles looked like they were having fun out there, which is something that they were doing a lot in 2017, 2018. Dancing after touchdowns, doing some of the shuffles and the Cupid shuffles and the electric slides that they were doing in 2017, 2018. Now they're doing drumline stuff. It's great, man. It's great. It's great to be an Eagles fan. It's great to be a Philly fan in general, man. We're just going to keep it rolling. Hopefully Thursday we can keep it rolling against Houston.
Well, we'll hope that keeps going, but we're here. But as you can see, QB1, tight end 1, and RB 100 is first place in our league. I am not, but
actually, let me ask you a question. How did it feel to be serviced on last week? Getting the celebration part, the gift.
I might be doing it for you.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. Like, how did it feel to be, picked up, wined and dined?
It was fun. It was good. Personally, like we said, if the last place person is into it and he's doing it, like doing the full gig, like the person is doing all the things that he's supposed to do, then I think it's cool. I think it's a good punishment. Me personally, it was fun. I enjoyed it. So, I mean, yeah. I know my luck. If I am last place, I am gonna get. It's not gonna be you, who's probably gonna be nice to me. It'll end up being like, it'd be like somebody who's gonna be a dickhead, and I'm just gonna be so pissed the entire time. So,
Dude, I got you. Anytime.
yeah.
But the way fantasy's going, man, it's just you never know week after week. So
yeah. So we'll help you. I got some waiver wire picks if you got some for this week. So
yeah. I mean, I think my main one right now is, depending on how many people are in your league, Rondale Moore. The way Arizona is using him, he might already be picked up in a couple, but he's been picked up and dropped as many times as I can think. There's probably been 10 times where someone's had him and dropped him. If he's dropped in your league, Rondale Moore is my pick. The Arizona Cardinals base with 4 receivers, and he's one of those 4. DeAndre Hopkins does take a lot of stuff away from him, a lot of pressure and eyes away from him. Not having Hollywood Brown there also opens up a bunch of targets. And he's actually getting targets down the field, which is something that was unheard of over the last couple of years with Rondale Moore in Arizona. So Rondale Moore is the person that I'm looking for to get. Unfortunately, I have 2 guys who are questionable on my IR spot, so I can't pick up or drop anyone. So I'm just holding on to them for dear life.
Nice. I love it. So the guy I alluded to earlier is the guy that I think if JT doesn't play, he has proven he did good. That's my boy Deion Jackson. I'm only saying this because of what I saw the one time he did have the full workload. I mean, he had the most points in the whole league that week. So the guy's a catcher. The guy can catch out of the backfield. The guy can run. It's not just a one-trick pony. And I'm not thinking Zach Moss or I think they got Jordan Wilkins back is going to take anything from him. I think really the whole Nyheim Hines trade, even though I think it was a trade to trade, is that they got a younger guy in Jackson who can do Nyheim Hines stuff, but also can run in between the tackles and the guards and everything. So if he's out there, definitely get him. And a guy that I like a little too much, but he's going to burn me this week. I know it. It's Joshua Palmer. If he plays,
he's the one I've stashed. So
yeah. If he plays, Keenan's not playing, and Mike Williams. Even Keenan plays. Somebody's got to catch the football, and they play. Don't they play the Falcons this week?
They do, and I don't think AJ Terrell is going to play, so it's going to be another.
There you go. Yeah. More and more reason. Justin Herbert to the moon.
Yep.
God willing.
Yep. The other one I have in deep leagues is Ronnie Rivers. He's the running back on the Rams. And if you need a 1-week fill-in, Kyron Williams isn't back yet from his high ankle sprain. They don't trust Darrell Henderson at all, and Ronnie Rivers I think led the team in touches last week, and he's a special teams guy. He's not that great, but in a pinch, if you need a running back, especially with all the teams on bye, Ronnie Rivers is worth a shout. He's probably available in every single league, so pick him up and start him, and yell at me later. So I probably will have to do that if Jonathan Taylor does get hurt or doesn't play. It might be Ronnie Rivers season for me, inshallah.
Inshallah, dude. If JT doesn't play, I don't know who I'm benching because I have Rondale Moore and him, so I might have to bench Michael Pittman at this point. And then my last pickup is a quarterback that a lot of people are sleeping on. I think he really needs to have his due. It's a guy that I think you're gonna I don't know how you feel about this guy, but it's Marcus Mariota. The dude runs, the dude does pass. They're opening up the offense in the passing game a little bit, helping Kyle Pitts now that they're actually targeting Kyle Pitts. So if you are in that 16 bye week hell of not having a quarterback, I think he is a good fill-in. He did Chargers defense now that J.C. Jackson's not playing, and their defense wasn't even that good when he was playing. I think you'll see a lot of Marcus Mariota RPOs. So
yep, I can get behind that. I like it, especially since he's available pretty much in every league. I would have said Justin Fields. I just don't think he's available anymore. I think that window is passed. I think he's actually a starting level quarterback now. That all these geezer quarterbacks have just kind of fallen off the face of the earth. All these people that relied on Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, they went another direction. A lot of them probably have Justin Fields on their team. If he's available, this is a great spot for him against Miami. They have actually called a lot more quarterback runs with his number now. It used to be scrambles. It used to be a lot of scrambles. Now it's a lot of designated quarterback runs. I feel like the Chicago offense is starting to utilize Justin Fields the way he needs to be utilized, and it's working out in his favor. He's had 2 really good games in a row. Granted, the Dallas game was a little unfortunate for them. I think that this is a great spot. I mean, again, against the Dallas defense, they played pretty well. So I mean, Miami's not the best in terms of fantasy value.
No.
So,
No.
This might be a good spot for Miami defense too. If you don't believe in Chicago, fade Chicago.
Take Miami defense. They went They went $7 in fab in our league. So
yeah, I don't understand.
Naheem
I'm gonna
Hines
stick to Cincinnati. I'm gonna stick to Cincinnati. Yeah,
I woke up this morning and I saw Naheem Hines for 17, and I was the only one who bid on Deion Jackson. I was like, am I missing something? Am I like?
And I would have bid on things if I didn't. I have two guys who are questionable just on my IR, and I can't move them. So, is what it is.
Okay, honest opinion: Deion Jackson or Naheem Hines? Who would you?
Yeah, I mean, I think it just depends on if JT's healthy. I think this is just a normal day for JT. Like, I think it's just a work day. So if he plays and like Deion Jackson's kind of a zero, but if you never know with Jonathan Taylor's ankle, like he might just be out. He might play a series, be questionable to return, and then all of a sudden you have an RB1 just kind of running around. But the fact that you have to start him is kind of a yikes though. But
I mean, so like in our league, I got to start something, and then in the other league, if JT's out, then I have the insurance policy. So
yeah.
But all right, and last segment of today, we're gonna do our best bets. I'm just gonna run through mine, and then you can go through yours. If you like any of mine, let me know. So my first one, we did talk about that Falcons-Chargers game. I do think the Chargers coming off a bye, they're gonna find their rhythm. Keenan Allen got whatever he needed to do the week before, got in, didn't really do much, but now that he has a week off, I think he comes back fully healthy. I think they get a bunch of guys on their defense. Hopefully their offensive line, Lindsley, I know Slater's not coming back, but now that they have cohesion, they can definitely do it. Basically, I'm saying take Chargers -3 as of now against the Falcons. Mm-hmm. I'm always a big after the bye kind of guy. Here's a surprising one. I am taking the under 47 in the Buffalo-New York game. I think one team is going to score and one team isn't. And I think we might see kind of how Jalen Hurts did it. We might see Josh Allen on the sidelines with a headset around like the fourth quarter. So that's my big under pick. And then my underdog of the week, I am picking the Rams +3 against the Buccaneers. Can't believe the Buccaneers are -3 in the first place after what we saw on Thursday night. But I think they believe that they're better than the Rams, who look as awful as the Buccaneers. So I will, if Cooper Kupp is playing, I don't think they have anybody to guard him. I think, like you said, Ronnie Rivers might be the guy. He might be better than Ted Henderson. Who knows? I am banking on Jalen Ramsey shutting down Mike Evans, though. So that's the one. And then over 46.5. I know, Labib, cover your ears. Over 46.5. Titans Chiefs. I think this is going to be an actual. I think it's going to be an actual like back and forth game. I don't see how the Chiefs are going to stop the King, and I don't see how the Titans are going to stop anything that Patrick Mahomes does. So over 46.5, I can see this game being in the 30s for both sides. So I am definitely going with those. Those are my best bets. And then my lock of the week is going to be money line, the Philadelphia Eagles against the Texans.
You put like $100 to win 5?
Hold on. Combine it with the spread, so then you can have that parlay that just looks weird, and then you can definitely do that. So I usually love doing that. So
that's I was gonna say, you just put that straight up. That's like you might as well just put your money in the bank at that point and just get the 2%. Yeah, just take it. Just buy the 2%. So I like a couple of yours. So the one that I like a lot is Buffalo Jets under 47. The Jets without Breece Hall and Elijah Vera Tucker has been kind of a mess, to say the least. I mean, they went to New England, and the New England game was a complete disaster for them. You know, Zach Wilson is going to probably see the same start of ghosts against Buffalo as he did against New England. I have that game almost like a 35-10 type game there. I just love taking unders. I don't know why. It's something that thrills me. The Philly-Houston under is the one that makes the most sense to me. I mean, I don't know how many people watched. There's probably 2 people that watched the Houston-Tennessee game, 4 o'clock. I, for sure as hell, did not watch that game, but I looked at the box score. Yeah, exactly. I mean, they turned that game on like twice. There was only 2 or 3 times. Like Derrick Henry runs, and that was really it. Basically, Derrick Henry ran 32 times. Basically, the offense ran through both,
The king.
Henry and Hilliard, they were just like, Malik Willis, we're not even going to bother letting you throw the ball. So, like, I don't understand how Houston can't stop that stop that offense if they're so one-dimensional. Philly's going to come in there and probably have, 7 or 8 minute drives with 8-9 yard runs, stop them in 3 and outs on defense, get the ball back, do the same thing over again. I'm thinking of, a 31 to 10 type game here with the under hitting there. The one thing that we're gonna differ on here is the Atlanta Chargers game. Actually, at Atlanta +3, I really like taking home dogs, especially as a money line pick or as them, taking the points. The Chargers are one of the worst run defenses in the league, one of the worst pass defenses in the league, and all Atlanta does is run, whether it's QB options or running with Algier and I can't remember the rookie that they have.
Caleb Huntley.
Caleb Huntley, Caleb Huntley. So that's the Atlanta right there. I'm sorry for you taking the Chargers. And my lock of the week this week.
It is what it is.
My lock of the week.
It wasn't my lock.
Yeah, but I don't. Yeah, I don't think it's my lock. That's definitely my underdog pick though for sure. Atlanta +3, getting the points at home. But my lock is Minnesota -3.5. In Washington, it's going to be 50-50 crowd. There's a big Midwest transplant here in Washington. They come out. There's gonna be the Helga horns out there,
Oh yeah.
doing the after third downs, after big sacks. I think that Minnesota, if they're not playing on prime time, is always a good bet. I mean, I've been betting on them, every single non-prime time game, and it's always a heart attack, including the Arizona game last week when they were at home, and it was a close game the entire way. I have no idea how. But with the amount of weapons they have offensively, I don't expect this to be as much of a heart attack as the last game was against Arizona. So give them, Minnesota -3.5. I can see this being a 31-20 type game. Taylor Heineke might keep them close in the beginning, but unfortunately, I think that Minnesota probably takes it, late. So those are my picks: Minnesota -3.5, Atlanta +3, Buffalo Jets under, and the other one that I don't know if I talked about, but Miami Chicago over 47. This just goes through my Chicago Justin Fields love. Miami's defense is awful. Granted, they will play a little bit of Bradley Chubb this game, but I don't think it's going to be enough to matter. Tua's been dissecting defenses. Tyreek Hill has been running rampant. He leads the league in yards with nobody near him. It's like 3 yards or something. Like,
Dude,
there's nobody around him. It's insane.
Nuts.
So
the amount
like
of yards that he has compared to receiving cores, actual receiving cores.
I'm talking about yards of separation. Like there's what's funny is that the way that the broadcast is set up, you see Tua and then you just don't see the receivers, but then you see him throw the ball and it's like Tyreek Hill and there's nobody around him. You're like, how the hell does this happen? Yeah, I feel the same way Justin Jefferson, but Tyreek's the same way. I like the over. That actually might be one of these games where one team might eclipse the over on their own. Like, would you be surprised if Miami scores 49?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
So those are my bets. I can't wait to lose money this week on those.
Me too, baby.
Yeah, let's go. And then my
go,
lock of the week, my true lock of the week is you take the Philly money line, right, the Eagles money line, and you parlay it with Philly winning the World Series, because on Thursday, I'm telling you, we're gonna have a win in Houston, and then we're gonna hold that World Series trophy. I'm telling you right now, that's what we're gonna do. So.
I will do this. I'll parlay that, but I want one more parlay. Add to that parlay. They're going to win. There's only one guy who needs to hit a home run in that game, and that's Mr. Harper. So I'll add that to my parlay as well.
Yeah.
That might not hit, but hey.
I mean, there was this. I don't watch baseball that much, but there was a stat that was, after Bryce hit that home run, right? The last 2 pitches that he saw at Citizens Bank Park, it was the Padres home run and that home run. So he hit 2 home runs on 2 pitches at home. I'm like, that's probably still going to continue, right? That's probably something that that's feasible for the future. So. Bryce is that guy right now. He's really carrying that town at the moment. 6 home runs. Also, everyone else's bats are awake too. I mean, I know I didn't want to turn this into a baseball podcast, seeing how I only watch about 3 weeks of baseball a year. I literally started watching the Phillies like a week before they started. I follow them. I know what's going on. Like, I watched the first week. I was like, Alec Boehm's out here making 3 mistakes in the first 2 innings, getting booed by the crowd. Him saying, "I hate this place." And then now and now he's turning into like a cult hero here. Like, it's nuts, man. I mean, going into the postseason, like, this team was not good. So the fact that they're here is nuts.
As a baseball fan and somebody who, I think we discussed it, like, I watched, I would say 70 to 80 games. So as somebody who didn't grow up with baseball, Phillies had a hot streak and then they got cooled down quick.
Yeah.
And everybody thought it was going to be the Mets, even their division rivals, the Mets and the Braves.
Yeah. The Phillies got swept by the Cubs in very embarrassing fashion right before the end of the season, and people were just out. Everyone in Philly was completely out on them. I sometimes peruse like Philly sports talk radio, from time to time, just throw it on to see what people are saying. Man, people that call in that after that series, because the Eagles won. I think it was like the Minnesota series or something. It was in between that. I wanted to hear what people had to say about the Vikings, and people were only talking about the Phillies at that point. Oh, they're gonna blow it. They're not even gonna make the playoffs. But we're here now. I don't think anyone's calling in and saying that we're ass anymore. So, it's been a good season, and I hope Thursday it turns into a Philly sports equinox. Right? We get World Series win and the Eagles go to 8-0. So,
hey, that'd be awesome. Yep. But I appreciate you coming on the pod, my
man. Anytime.
It is awesome. Even though we did take shots at the Steelers, I love doing it every day. It's my thing. It's now turned into, I don't think people realize that I'm the biggest Steelers fan they know, because I think I'm so pessimistic they think I actually hate them. So I love it.
Yeah, I was gonna say we didn't get to talk about the Snyder stuff, but shout out to you Washington fans. Congratulations. We finally
real quick, shit, my bad. Snyder he's in cahoots with Bank of America to make a transaction. So he's exploring everything. You want my real take? He's trolling. He's not actually going to.
No chance. This is the best part about being an Eagles fan too. You look around and every other NFC East team is owned by, maybe not the Giants, but Dallas and Washington. This is a gift that keeps on giving. You have Snyder and you have Jerry Jones. I just love it. I absolutely love it. I mean, Snyder being around is like a gift to me every single year. I go by my birthday. I'm like, what can the NFL give me for my birthday? It's Dan Snyder still owning the Washington professional football team. So I'm just gonna ride it until I see the word that he's sold. That's the only way that I'll believe it. So I'm sorry, all Washington fans out there. I don't think it's gonna happen anytime soon. You're stuck with this guy.
Me either. And I think Jerry Jones, you're funny to me because you have a running back who runs for 100-something yards, and you still want to go with Fat Boy.
Yeah,
but that's my thing. But,
yeah, it's odd. It's great. It's great. It's great to be great to be here as a Philly fan. We're just surrounded by disasters. It's awesome.
I'm surrounded by 3 competent guys now, so I'm glad. The Ravens, the Bengals, and the Browns. Oh, the Browns just went to trade for a sicko, so the sicko is going to be good, and it's going to be awful for me.
We'll see. So, what's that? That'll happen soon. I'm sure you'll cover that.
For that one. We might. I have some words, but again, thank you again, Samuke, for coming on. I appreciate it, and to Joey, I hope you're not popping bottles because we both think Snyder is trolling. So I just wanted to give a shout out to all our sponsors, Eyesight Mobile Eyewear Company, the Eyesight company that comes to you. Go follow them on Instagram. We'll tag them in the post. They'll come and do everything from measuring to sunglasses to everything you need. Seductions by Jax. She does everything from hair to nails to everything you need done. Follow her on Instagram as well. She gets booked up really fast. I know it's wedding, prom, whatever, homecoming. She will help you and all that. So, as well as Stuck Up Clothing, finest fashion money can buy. Follow them on Instagram as well. They have their website up. Get their new clothing line as well as their summer stuff coming. I think it's coming soon, but get the winter stuff now before it's too late. And follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Listen on Spotify, YouTube, iTunes, everything where you listen to your podcast. Four Corners Radio, not only this podcast, but our other podcast fellows and all that stuff. And again, thank you guys for rocking with us. Stay breezy, stay easy, one love.
Yes, sir. Go Phils.
Please fire Matt Canada. Please.